Let me tell you a story. Let me tell you about the JS112 that I've built the past year. 5 years ago I got the opportunity to fulfill my dream to build a TP52 style boat, a real boat. And because I have always been into model boats, I made a listing on eBay to ask around if someone is willing to build with me. A customer of mine reached out, showed me some details and showed me some drawings, and we agreed on some terms to build one of the best model boats I've ever seen. And then the customer came to me and asked me if I couldn't build it out of carbon fiber. So we agreed and he provided me some molds. I will go into the molds in detail later in this video. Right now let's watch all these amazing boats which are inspiration for this JS112. The JS112 is built to fit in the boot of a car. We took inspiration from Scorpios, Rambler, G2, Mega Maxi, M155 by Stock Maritime and many more. We have finished this project and got a lot of joy out of it. Great smiles and learned a lot. This boat really got me motivated to build my own boat. Take inspiration of one of the best boats I have seen so far. I really like the design of the Clubs 180 as shown in the last video. Pictures like you see right now are the inspiration. These are the drivers of our passion. This is what we seek for. This idea grew over many sleepless nights. This boat is absolutely fabulous looking, and in this video I will show you how we build it, what challenges were faced, and what design methods and building methods we used to accomplish our goal of a super light, super fast, nimble and super rigid boat. Weight and perfect execution in composite materials is one of the factors why Jan chose me. I'm really thankful for it, and I think I did a great job. And in this video I can show you why I did what and how I did it, so you can do it too, or maybe get a customer of mine. We have agreed with this boat to go with a standard model boat sail plan, so we only run a jib and we only run a mainsail. No Jenica, no reaching sails. This is fairly common, and I think this is the most popular because it's the most easy way and most reliable way to sail a model boat. And the more servos you have, the more complicated it gets. Nevertheless, after the Clubs 180, Flying Nika will be my next project. This next generation of boats use foils, and stick around for the end of this video to get a little Easter egg what's coming next. For now we run a fixed keel with a single rudder and a standard mainsail with a self-tacking jib. We run a international 1 meter keel fin with a around about 2 kilo keel bulb, a carbon fiber mast, aluminium booms for jib and mainsail, which later will be changed to carbon fiber. We have a single rudder in the middle, but option to go twin rudder. This right here is the first outing of the boat. We borrowed the rig of the old catamaran and it showed its potential. The boat was accelerating super quick, and we were satisfied that a new set of sails will live up this boat tremendously. In this boat we run 2 servos, one for sail control and one for the rudder. We thought it would be funny to have a servo to control the weight, maybe with a canting keel or maybe to move the weight aft. But it showed that it's not necessary. Therefore we opted for a fixed strongback. And now let's start building this boat. We started by printing the molds, printed with a PLA standard filament on a FDM printer, and then painted all the molds with a 2K primer. After primer we added some paint to have a reference for sanding. After sanding we added a layer of clear coat that gives us a clean and smooth surface, which is easy for release and gives us a perfect surface finish. This step of painting with 2K filler and clear coat needs to be repeated for all molds. After the molds get mold release in it, we can add some carbon fiber. I have made some wet pregs for that, so that's basically a pre-preg which is easy to cut. After applying all the fibers, you have to clean up the flanges of the mold, so you can stick a vacuum bag onto it, like shown in this picture right here. A vacuum bag sucks out all the excess air and resin and leaves us with a perfect, smooth and light part. The inside of this part is still with a peel ply finish that can be removed, and we have a finished hood at 15 grams. The same steps needs to be repeated for the other parts. We continue with the deck mold. This deck in this CAD drawing is fairly flat, so it shouldn't be too hard. I still need to build to spec, so our strong back can fit into it. The strong back will house some servos, and also the deck will be the support for some servo structure. I have bonded the parts. I have used clamps and weights to position everything and to bond everything together. Epoxy bond can be sanded afterwards. Prior to 2K filler, you need to do some fairing, and then you can get a pretty good surface which needs to be sanded. For sanding, I use a marker paint. This indicates high spots and low spots and gives me a perfect indication for a super smooth finish. Then it's next step to lamination. Here you can see all the support structure I added onto the single skin layer deck. The areas which get more stress load and needs to be sanded or cut later get some reinforcements, and I also added a hatch to the rear of the boat. This is later used to bond the steering column into place. Tape around the working surface provides me a clean finish to seal the vacuum bag onto it. With some breather and some peel ply, you can achieve a perfect finish. I used this vacuum bag, started from the corners, to suck all the excess resin out and the air from in between the mold surface and the fibers. It is super important to have enough vacuum bag so you don't get bridging. As a resin system, I used from R&G laminating resin L, which gives me a perfect finish and cures super quick and super strong. R&G laminating resin L and hardener L or S are a perfect opportunity to get started with laminating at home. I get all my composite stuff from R&G. I'm really happy with them and can really recommend them. For a perfect finish, it is super important to pay attention to all the small details, all the creases and all the edges. After curing, you will end up with a finish like this. Demolding such thin parts is always pretty tricky, to be honest. I started by gently opening the edges all around. I used a plastic spatula for that, so I don't harm the composite part. Then the outside edge got a little extra piece that can be removed, which you can see in the rear of the boat. These parts are needed so the deck fairing can sit into the hull. And then by gently pulling, the release agent did a great job. You can release the mold from the part, or the part from the mold. Sometimes it helps to get some compressed air. With this you can push further the release, and it always helps to have enough patience. Don't rush this step. I take my time, and I think the execution went perfect. You can see in this shot pretty good that we have the reinforcements on the deck in the center line. This indicates a strong section for mounting optional parts and hardware. I'm really pleased with the finish of this part. And there she is. The first mold is released, the first deck is released. We have a perfect composite part. Super light, yet strong. This is what I like, and this is what we aim for. Sure, off camera I have built the hull. To fit everything together I used a Dremel tool, which is a diamond blade. This gives me a perfectly clean cut. These tools are not cheap, but they provide me the best value and they make me work quick. For trimming the edges I use a good pair of scissors and a diamond cutting blade for my Dremel tool. This right here is the first test fit ever, so I'm pretty excited, as you can tell. Back to mold making. This is the mold for the hull. And it's the same again. 2K filler, some black paint, and then sanding. Then you add some clear coat and you can polish the mold. And then you can wipe on some wax to have a good release. To combine both halves, I used a silicone glue, and then it's time for layup. I used a wet pack, which gives me perfect fiber orientation, although it takes a little more time to do so. You need way more time to adjust your fibers in the mold, and you need more time for preparing. As I did on the deck mold, I used also some reinforcement in the keel structure, in the center line where the rudder sits, and the bow section. These are the areas which are known to be a little brittle and can live with a little more fibers. And then it's time for vacuum bagging. You can see the breather is slowly bleeding through, and I like this shot. It reminds me of the big boats, even though we are not infusing but vacuum bagging our hull. After curing, it's again time for demolding. You can see the white is still some of the rubber glue, which sealed the mold. One shot, turned out amazing. I think the smoothness is perfect, the stiffness is perfect, and the weight is absolutely amazing. In monolithic areas, the hull is still a little translucent, but that's okay for a sailboat. Adding a thin layer of fiberglass or a first layer into the mold makes this boat totally watertight and sealed. You can see the surface finish is absolutely perfect. All the effort was worth it. We have perfectly crisp edges. And wherever needed, I was peeling back the peel ply so I can bond the strong back into it. And then the first shot out on the water. I was absolutely hyped up. From now on, it's all on to finishing. We have to bond everything into the boat. We have to build the strong back, which need to be printed and designed. My favorite method of communication is WhatsApp. We just used some simple shots and he told me what to change. I told him what to change, and then we came up with a perfect strong back, which was perfect for printing and easy and quick to install. This also got the servo mounts included. As you can probably tell by now, we were remotely working, so the designer was somewhere else. We used a 3D printer which prints by powder by HP, which also helps to print rudders. In this shot you can see the slightly porous surface of the rudder, and this is also the surface of the strong back, so it's perfect for bonding. After weighing and fiddling around with this setup, we decided we wanted to add a little stringer at 315 mm from the bow, so I CNC milled a 0.37 gram part and tested how it fits. Absolutely like a dream. And then we added another one with like 4 grams to bond into the hull at the bow section. And to prep the surface, we removed the peel ply when needed. We continued with the deck structure, so we bonded in the 3D printed strong back and also mounted the first servo. We have drilled and prepared some holes for the control lines for steering. And then it's time for the keel. We have started by researching. We took some measurements and we got some parts bought, and then I CNC milled a mold. Although never used, it's good to have it. Let's continue with the keel bulb. Again, I used CAD drawings to model up a lead bulb mold, which I CNC milled out of wood and then poured some molten lead into it. A little cavity, which occurred because of a mistake I made, can then later be filled with some more lead. This gives us a perfectly finished lead keel, and I think this is pretty satisfying. Turned out amazing. I like it, I would do it again, exactly how I did it there. This boat runs a 2 kilogram keel weight, but more on that later. And then we compared the 2.5 kilogram keel bulb with a carbon fiber keel fin from Jens Amenda to a freshly bought keel fin out of the internet with a 2 kilogram lead keel bulb. As you can see, the keel fin with 2.5 kilogram and a carbon fiber fin is bending a bit with a rather fast rebound. Compare that to the freshly bought fin out of the internet with the 2 kilogram lead piece out of the CNC milled mold. We have much more bend on this fin and a much slower rebound. It looks kind of wobbly and we decided to not use this fin. We have looked around quite a bit and we found Jarek, who provided us with a perfect fin made out of carbon fiber with a perfect finish. And with a new keel bulb, we came at 1,934 grams for the keel bulb. Neon orange to grey, just to try out, to test out what looks the best. And here, the final result with some sailing pictures.
Startvorbereitung, nächstes Rennen.
Right now we are at the pre-start phase. So we have the metal post and the green polar in the back as our starting line, and we will see who comes first. The black is the JS112 and the white one is a Robber Rubin. Both boats are comparable, they are kind of the same length, but the JS112 is much lighter. The sail area is kind of the same. I'll have a quick look for the wind. We can see on the right is a little different, on the left is a little different, so we can assume that there will be plenty of wind shifts.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Klarer Start. Beide sauber rüber. Rubin gerade schön Wind gefunden. JS ein bisschen höher. Oh, Rubin hat einen Dreher. Und geht direkt rum. Jetzt schauen wir mal. Gegendreher von der JS nicht mitgenommen. Split. Beide fahren auf unterschiedlichen Bügen in unterschiedliche Richtungen. Schnelle Wende von der JS. Und direkt wieder am Wind. Jetzt läuft sie sauber. Sauberen Wind. Und fährt hoch. Rufmarke zwischen dem blauen Pfeiler und dem gegenüberliegenden Pfeiler. JS hat es geschafft. Segel gehen auf. Und auch jetzt haben wir wieder bei der JS das Problem, dass die...
As you can tell right now, the JS112 got some problems taking the jib out. So in ideal condition, you want the jib and the mainsail at around about 80 degrees to the mid-bow line. And the JS112 struggles with this. So in order to compensate for that, we could add some lead to the front of the jib boom. You can see this on a international 1 meter boat and also in RG-65s. But this problem only occurs in really light winds. If you stuck around until now, please share this video with your friends so they can learn and they can get inspired. Feel free to like this video and comment. If you don't like this video, please give this video a thumbs down. And I'm keen to hear from you. What do you think about this boat? Our next project will be a big one. Stick around, subscribe to this channel, and now relax some racing.
Wieder Winddreher. So, ein bisschen Krängung gekriegt, ein bisschen Wind gekriegt und die Rubin fährt wieder. Rubin kann wieder runter. So, was ist los, Andreas? Fock rüber. Ja, Müssen wir mal gucken, was wir da machen können. Da ist die Fock drüben. Jetzt läuft sie auch. Ja, das ist schon wieder auf dem Anwendkurs. Jetzt kommt hier ein bisschen Druck. Und da fällt die Fock ein, der Gegendreher. Direkt Wende und gucken, dass man wieder runterkommt, um da um den blauen Pfahl rumzukommen. Wenn man anruft, nimmt man den Druck aus den Segeln und damit kann man dann ein bisschen Kränkung rausnehmen. Das Rennen geht jetzt wohl an die JS112 gegen die Rubin. Ja, Andreas, wenn du Druck hast, dann geht die Fock auch schön raus. Komm, arbeite mit dem Ruder, dass du direkt vor den Wind kommst. Das war schon die zweite Runde, ja. Machen wir einen neuen Start, würde ich sagen, wa? Gut vor Steuerbord, gut, JS hat Vorfahrt und die Rubin fährt auf jeden Fall schon mal hinten durch. JS covered, das heißt, wir haben jetzt die Abwinde von der JS auf der Rubin. Kleiner Winddreher, nicht mitgesehen. Die Rubin hat schneller gesehen und ist direkt schneller rangekommen. Jetzt war der Abstand schon wieder noch länger. Ab nach Luft.
Da geht erst ein Großbaum rüber und dann die Fock.
Komm, komm, Fotofinish.
Laufen lassen.
Ja.
Sehr geil. Das war Arne, möchtest du auch noch mal eine Runde drehen?
Ja, ich mach glaube ich auch noch mal eine Runde.
Tiefer, nicht so viel Lage.